Hey guys, welcome back to Snowball Investing. This is going to be the October portfolio update. I did miss September's one, and that's just because I was on a very long holiday, which is great. You know, it's good to take time out, not worry about your portfolios, not check it every day. It was time out. I didn't check my portfolio, and I came back, and things have turned green, which is fantastic. And I'll walk through all of that in this month's update video. Talking about things being good, my Freetrade ISA is doing very well. So the value of this sits at a new all-time high of 148,585. And just in the past month, the portfolio is up by 11.96, or basically 12%, which is the equivalent of £17,768. Just taking a look back at the past year's performance, the portfolio is up by 41%, or the equivalent around 61,000. And kind of the all-time performance, it's up by 51.77%, or the equivalent of 76,923. Before I go into the individual positions, just taking a look at the portfolio breakdown again. So this month, my overall stock position is 84.1%. I do have a good chunk of cash, so I've got 13.5%. or the equivalent of around £20,000. So it is a fairly sizable cash position. Looking at the individual positions, Palantir, just because of how much it's grown, is now 54.4% of the overall portfolio. Got the other biggest positions, FTSE All ETF at 9.8%. And a few of the other ones, like Rocket Lab is my second largest individual position. And then a few smaller stocks at the bottom there. Looking at the recent activity, there's obviously not going to be too much here because I've been off, but what I do every month is top up 1,666, so that will allow me to max out my stocks and shares ISA every single year. The limit of that is £20,000 currently. And then we do have some of the dividends come in, so SL Green Realty, that came in at £9.41. I get interest, which kind of pays off the free trade fees, that came at £12.33. And a few more of the dividends. We got Meta at £2.08. Alphabet £3.05, and this was in September. And SL Green Realty, you see that again because that's a monthly dividend. So on the 16th of September, got another payment of £9.32. And some other smaller dividends, for example, from Microsoft, that came in at £2.17. I do want to touch on why I have such a large cash balance. In my view, and I'm not an expert investor or trader or anything like that, I don't think there are too many great opportunities in the market at the minute. I think it is potentially overvalued. So, for example, when Palantir was $7, I was buying heavy. When Rocket Lab was $3.50, I was buying heavy. But at the minute, I don't see too many great opportunities. So I am tempted to put it in an index fund, and I think that's probably the right thing to do, but I'm personally waiting for a pullback. I know it's very hard to time the market, so don't follow me into this, but I've tried to time the market previously, and it's kind of worked out for me, so just waiting for a pullback. I think there's nothing wrong with holding cash. I'm not selling anything. I'm just being patient. So I'll keep you updated on how I deploy my cash in the future months' updates. Looking at the individual positions now, we have to start with Palantir because it just keeps on going. So I currently have 2,460 shares. The value is over £80,000 now, and I'm up plus 257%. So it's definitely the best performing stock in my portfolio. I'm just a bit gutted I didn't buy more around the kind of $7 range, but I was limited to the £20,000 limit in my ISA. I mean, I could have bought it in my general investment account, but hindsight is 2020. Looking at the share price of Palantir, it's at $42.93, so pretty much near all-time highs. I think it reached an all-time high recently. So in the past month, it's up 17.58%. In the past year, 151%, and over since kind of the inception, it was up 351%. And I'm not entirely sure why it's mooning so much. I mean, it's probably a combination of the market generally being up, And obviously the hype around AI, Nvidia is doing very well, so it's probably going to move in tandem with some of the larger AI stocks like Nvidia. Not that I'm complaining, although in my personal view, I think now it's really stretching its valuation. I'm definitely not going to buy any more at this price. I want to see how the earnings play out, but also I'm not going to sell absolutely any shares of this. Even though I think it's overvalued, I just don't know where this stock is going to go. And for me, this is a very long-term hold. This is a company I want to hold until retirement. So I'm happy to kind of play it out, and if it dips in price, there may be opportunities to buy more. And that's why I've partly got a large cash position. So if there are opportunities in the market, I can capitalize on those when I see them. Next up, we have the FTSE All World Accumulating Fund. So this sits at £14,579. It's up 17.71%. So, index funds over a long time, I think, do perform quite well. They're quite steady investments, and most people probably should have the majority of their positions in an index fund. Do bear in mind, all of my pension is in basically an all-world index fund. So for me, this ISA gives me a bit more opportunity to kind of play around with other stocks and more risky plays. And that's because I probably have a higher risk appetite than most people, but I have no issues buying an index fund and holding for the long term. Another stock that surprised me when I got back was Rocket Lab, because it was up 157%, so it's pretty much shot up in the past couple of months. So the value of this is 9,824. I think it's a stock where people are realizing now the potential of this company, where it could be in 10 years' time, and it's a well-run company with the CEO obviously being a great CEO. So, gutted again that I didn't buy more shares, but sometimes it's okay to hold, and we may get more opportunities to buy at better prices. So, yeah, again, performing very well in this portfolio. SoFi is also performing very well, so that's now up 35% at a value of 4,158. And think about it, nearly all stocks I think all stocks in my ISA now are in green and performing very well. So yeah, the market has been very good to us. Truist sits at £3,535 and is up 39%, and is one of the few dividend plays I have in my portfolio. Another one is Green Realty, and that's a REIT, which sits at 3,491 and is performing much better at 150%. We'll take a look at some of these other smaller positions in my portfolio, and if you've been a long time watcher of the channel, you know I had a much larger number of shares in my ISA, and over time I've consolidated those into the positions I have the most conviction in. So we have PayPal, that's at 3,435 and is up 12%. So that's also performing quite well. Google not performing as well as some of the other stocks. That's up 23%. Meta's still good at 183%. Microsoft up 48%. Tesla just in the green at plus 0.4%. Then last but not least, Everest still, but Freetrade won't let me sell this share and hasn't for about 2 years because of the situation with Russia. So eventually I can get rid of it and then can say all of my ISA is in green, but at the minute this one is just slightly tainting the portfolio. So that concludes the Freetrade Stocks and Shares ISA. Market's been performing amazing in the past couple of months, which is great because everything's in the green and I can show you guys how well I'm performing. But really, I want things to crash, ideally. I want to see great opportunities in the market. So I'm just hoping we get a large pullback. The bigger, the better, in my view, because I'd like to buy more stuff at discounting prices. But it's quite difficult time in the market. So we'll see how that plays out in the next couple of months. Let's now take a look at the general investment account. So the value is £18,405. And in the past month, it's up 2.15% or £396. In the past year, if it loads up, it's up by 17.8% or just over £3,200. And over the maximum sort of time horizon of this portfolio, it's up by 33% or £6,205. There isn't much to call out as part of the recent activity because I'm no longer adding anything to this portfolio. It's just going to sit there for the time being. But I do get a few dividends. So Meta, that came in at £5.18 in September. Google Outfit, £4.27. Microsoft £1.44, and Intel at £1.89. So that is building a little bit of a cash buffer. So I need to remind myself to reinvest that. But this is a portfolio that I'm just gonna hold on and see how things play out, especially with the UK budget, which will be released on the 30th of October. So depending on what they change around capital gains tax or pensions, I may look to reallocate some of this portfolio. I'm just going to whiz through the positions in this portfolio because there's not much change, but Meta, my biggest position at £7,202 is up 252. So yeah, again, one of my top performing stocks across all my portfolios. Google, that's up 38%. Amazon, that's up 71%. Stock that's not doing so well is Enphase Energy. Luckily, that's still a fairly small position. That's down 30%. Microsoft's up 51%. JP Morgan sets at a value of 578. That's up 78%. Starbucks, that was in the red for a little bit, but it's made a bit of a rebound. This is up 16%. There's two stocks that are probably one of the worst performing ones, are Intel and Neo, but luckily there are fairly small positions as a proportion to my entire portfolio. That concludes the GIA. There's not much more to add, but I guess when the budget is released, I can give you guys an update of how that's going to influence my overall portfolio. So yeah, check out my Road to Retirement series. That's where I'll kind of touch on how that's going to change my allocations and if I want to sell particular positions and invest elsewhere. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell and you get updates when I release those videos. So taking a look at my Vanguard account, and this is just a general account, so it is a taxable account unlike the Stocks and Shares ISA. And this is when I had additional cash during the kind of COVID time where I maxed out my ISA, but I still wanted to buy additional stocks. So I did create a general account. So the value of this sits at £17,173, and it's made up of entirely the S&P 500, or ticker symbol VUS8. So I'm currently in the green by £4,289, and I do have a little cash on the sidelines, and I guess when I get paid out from the dividends, I just reinvest it back into the S&P 500. Similar to the Freetrade GIA, I'm no longer adding anything to this position, so it's just going to sit there and compound slowly over time, which is absolutely fine with me. Obviously, any gains will be subject to capital gain tax, but I'll navigate it depending on what's the most tax efficient way to kind of grow my money. And again, I'll touch on that in my Road to Retirement series. So that's all for the October update. Hopefully you guys found that useful, and I'll catch you in the next month's update.